Hey, just want to say, oh my God. Hey, just want to say I haven't been around for a little bit. I've been busy with life, and at the same time, I've been busy just trying to create various things that are wrapping around in my mind at this current point in time. So, I'm gonna make the short, sweet, quick, and almost beautiful to the point that anyone would be extremely excited to watch this. Maybe. Anyways, straight into it. Uh, my album Dreamer Volume 1 is coming out the 30th, so like a few days. And for me, I have to do this thing called marketing, something I am not proficient in any way, such as you can tell, no one knows who I am. It makes sense. Uh, the other points that I'm making here, right? Yeah. I'm going to be working on a music video for one of the songs off the album. It features an amazing, great, talented artist who name will pop up somewhere here. Ooh, I don't know, one of the hands. Um, she's been great, and they created pretty much the entirety of the song. I just touched a few things and wrote my own stuff. Other than that, the song to me is a very important song on the album. On top of it being actually very close to home for me, as writing that kind of thing, and it felt good to make. On top of that, and everything else in my life, sooner or later I will be exercising myself out of here, and we don't have to worry about anything weird in here, and I'll be in a much louder area where everything probably will suck for a little bit until I get used to everything. But I will be doing my best to craft amazing content. He says with not amazing content. I'll be working on a lot of stuff. From the music video to I am working on more music at this current point in time because, the grind never ends, as they say, I guess. I'm constantly writing, and it's a form of therapy for me. So, for me to constantly be writing out the demonic thoughts that I have in my head, it works better than sitting there dwelling on such demonic thoughts and then putting myself in very precarious positions that I don't want to be in. So, writing them out really helps me, even if some of the things start sounding the same, which is one of the fears that I can say that I had for the album, is some times when you write multiple things in quick succession, okay, oftentimes those things can start sounding the same. Accidental same lyric-itis, I guess I'm going to call it. It's kind of like when I listen to songs and I'm like, oh, that song's bumping, and then when I go to write something, and also, you're just writing. A lot of times when I'm writing, I never have any music going. I'm just thinking about how it sounds in my head, how I would want to sing it in my head. So that's when I get to the point of putting music with it, and then the entire thing doesn't sound the way that I wanted it to. Either way, that part aside, can see where this album started having some difficulties. A lot of the times when I'm writing, I will write like multiple different songs at once, and the one thing I get scared of is when doing it I may or may not write the same lyric. Uh, I ran into this problem a few times when doing some of the songs, especially if I did them like I did have the music and I already like wrote one song and it was really good. I liked it. I mean, I guess that's all that matters in this world. That you like your own stuff, because I'm my biggest critic, so I hate everything that I write. So I like one thing, and then when I'm writing for a whole different thing, like I haven't written anything yet, I'm listening to the song and I'm like, oh, this sounds good, and then I start writing, and as I'm going, I'm like, did I say this before? Like, is this already something that I pre-written? I don't remember. And that's also the issue of my brain. So, aside from all that, the album is going to be relatively off-putting, probably, to various amount of people. When putting it in to DistroKid or whatnot, I had to you have to pick the genre, and I was like, I never had like a genre per se. There wasn't ever any like genre specific thing that I wanted to do for the album. Originally, the album was going to be genre specific, like each volume was going to be a different genre that I was going to just jump into, and that would be like the turning point of each iteration of Dreamer. And then I took all that and threw that in the trash because I didn't have time for that. Making a lot of songs in one genre wasn't my thing, because I always you'll be able to tell with the album is, even with some of the preview stuff, is that the first single for the album that came out was, I guess, Blood Pain at this point, because Blood Pain made it on the album. Blood Pain is more of a, I guess I would call it like a kind of like a SoundCloud rap in a way, or like a dark, sad hip hop type stuff. I don't know genres. But it has that kind of feeling of being depressing, and that's the point of the song. The song is called Blood Pain. My blood hurts, and not necessarily in a realistic way. I think, is that an actual disease? I'm asking questions. Anyways, but the next single for the album that came out was Starlight, featuring Gianna Juliet, who is obviously an amazing singer that I've worked with a few times. And now she didn't know she was going to be a part of this album. I feel bad. She knew she was part of a project at some point, a song that I was doing, but I decided to take all of it and use it for this. Good thing is that it doesn't sound bad. So, taking that, Starlight is very much like a pop, electronic. I wouldn't go as far as say EDM, but yeah, it has elements of different genres into it, but very pop-like. And with the album itself is a combination of a lot of different genres, a lot of different influences of me, where I'm heavily influenced by rock music, metal for the most part, like new metal, and like bands like Linkin Park and Stone Sour or Slipknot, Nothing More. Obviously, I have like a poster from them when I went to see them once. Other than all the other bands, I don't, because during those times I was drinking. So with a lot of my influences from, like, say, Linkin Park to NF, there can be a dichotomy of differences. And on top of it, if you look at like differences of how I'm very into J-rock and very into anime music, I guess you can call it, as most people call it, here in the United States. But Japanese rock music is something that influenced me like actually a long time ago, and those are things I kind of want to incorporate into everything as well. I'm not obviously fluent in Japanese, so I'm not doing the lyrics, but the sounds, especially one of the songs that are on the album, is influenced from J-rock. And with my influences, I made a playlist on my Spotify, so you can go into there, go to my Spotify. One of the playlists through there is just influences. Literally, that's what it's called. Which is a lot of things that I listen to, whether if it's on a regular basis or I've listened to over time, that were songs that influenced me during these times or these times, because for me, music is very much emotional, and I kind of like move with the emotions of how I'm feeling at that point in time. If I'm feeling like I want to have some form of like inspirational type of piece or things like that, I will listen to, literally I've listened to the was it My Hero Academia's You Say Run, I think that's the name of it. Let me look it up. Jeez, feeling pretty dumb right now. I don't know. It's getting warm in here. Definitely not in there. Yeah. Okay. I was right. So, You Say Run. I will listen to that as like this when I'm thinking of ideas in my head and I'm just wanting to feel like some form of inspiration at that current point in time. And it's just that it's listening to like just instrumentals, things without words and everything. I just explained instrumental, but listening to these helps me, I guess, kind of like get through certain emotions in my head. It doesn't help me write anything, but it helps me. It's something that I'm moving with. If I'm feeling some form of like aggression or wanting to get like really pumped up, you want to listen to songs that will pump you up. For me, it's listening to maybe like Cold Rain sometimes. If I want to get pumped up, I also kind of like sad. Listening to NF, some music, some songs from there, or a lot of like rock music does, do that type of thing, or a lot of metal. I do enjoy listening to Pop Evil as more of like a pump up, but in a different way. Like it's giving me a different feeling because I'm associating certain emotions with certain songs, emotions that are like inside of me or things I'm feeling at that current point in time. I'm literally just going on this rant about music that most people probably do, and I'm just explaining it, I guess. Either way, the album is an influence piece, and my idea with Project Dreamer, as I'm announcing it throughout everything, originally was going to be 2 different volumes of different genres. And the first one was going to be like a pop, hip hop type genre thing of, the more like upbeat and maybe sometimes down, sad, but, very in the pop genre and very in the like hip hoppy, hip, you know what I'm saying? But in its own category. And then volume 2 was going to be rock. It was going to be metal. Like that was going to be that, like a rock, hard rock, alternative rock. I don't know the differences of all these. Couldn't tell you, but it was going to be in that genre along with like trap and stuff like that. In which the whole idea was scrapped when I just knew I didn't have time. For me, time is always this massive entity that's just like crawling at me. I'm not old. Well, it really depends up to you. But with time, I gave myself a time limit. I knew that the longer I allow something to linger, whether if it's a project or an idea and things like that, over time it will change. And it did. Originally, everything I was doing, all the songs I was creating, and the producers I worked with, and all these things were coming together for an EP, and it was called The Thin Line of Death, which the idea of the EP was very much that, where mentally I always felt like I was on this thin line between life and death. It was going to be a very dark EP, very low down, just depressing EP. But time and different life situations pulled me from creating that type of EP. And a lot of the songs that were meant for that ended up moving. One of them is one that I touched multiple times until it came to a point where it just felt right. Whether or not if it's perfect, whether if it's like mixed completely well or anything like that, these are things I'm not looking at, because these are things that, like, yeah, in the long run, for a lot of people, like perfect mixing, perfect pitching, and EQing, all these things would be great. But for me, it was time. It was, how can I make this sound to the point that I feel comfortable with it for other people to hear? And how am I going to do this in the right amount of time without touching it too much, ruining it from a point to where I'm like, this is great, to all of a sudden touching it so much that by the time I finally put it out, it's not what I wanted. And sometimes time works, where giving something time and it makes something great. When Gianna sent me her lyrics and her vocals for what originally was Starlight at that time, it wasn't what it is now. It was just her, and it was whatever creation of a beat that I made, and it was going to be like one of the next singles I put out. And then I walked away from it. I stopped doing music for a bit. I was working on other stuff. But ultimately, I was vehemently depressed and just consistently in my own head. And so eventually, as creating Dreamer, and this was after the whole like idea of an EP, like Thin Line EP, all that stuff. Originally, Dreamer was going to be a Dreamer EP, and it was going to just have what I pretty much did with the album. It was just going to be a dump of everything I created at that point. And what I wanted to do is I looked back at it and I was like, you know, she did an amazing job. How can I make this better? Like the song itself. And how can I fit myself into this? Because at this point, I'm like, I'm doing my own vocals. I'm working on everything I can. What can I do for this? And that was the good thing about the time, is it allowed me to learn more on really how to work with vocals and working with my own vocals. At this point, I made like one random song that I never put out because it was a song definitely full of depression. I say that as like it can sound jokingly to me, but anyone else listening to it would immediately want me to seek help. So no one's hearing it. But that was around the time when I put out Do It Sober. And Do It Sober was a freestyled song. One idea that I kind of had was I was going to freestyle 90% of my music because I didn't want to write anything. Writing took me away from being able to express the emotion, but then I realized that mentally I was just going to start saying the same thing. So I axed that idea. But Do It Sober was a freestyled song where it was my first real jump into vocals. And I mean, there's a lot of things of it that could have been better, and it was a very hard pounding song, as that whole song's emotion was how much I struggled with alcoholism, how much I struggled with drinking, and that was a tough time. And so that song kind of like embodied that, and that was why it was probably easier for me to just kind of like freestyle everything that I wanted to say. Even though the dichotomy of the song was really me and having my own inner demons kind of like having their own outer voice, which is very much a theme of this album. Dreamer, I'll get into the meat and potatoes of this. We've been running for too long. This is now a podcast. Jeez. Dreamer Volume 1 is not just a collection of music that I created with other producers and worked on with other people. It's essentially, a lot of the songs are more or less an inner battle of myself. Going through the track listing, I attempted to organize all the songs in a cohesive manner to how I wanted people to kind of like experience a thought process. From the intro, which is just me talking, which when I look back on the intro and realize that I put that up, I was like, that's unfortunate, but it's how it's gonna be at this point. But from Let It Go, which is the first mainline song, and the first song I worked on with the producer that created, which he produced pretty much 90% of the album. Most songs. Opal, who's great. I say too much because I can't think, but Let It Go is the song that I touched a lot until finally I touched it, and I was like, this is how it's going to go. And that is a mixture of me freestyling, which is the first verse, to the second verse is one that I wrote. So from that, it will slowly kind of like descend into, I would say, perpetual madness of different songs that are going to take different routes of my mental state. Oh, got a visitor. But the biggest thing with Dreamer is it is me putting together the compilation of everything. How I feel and how I want to express myself. To me, I see Giganot as someone who is closed in, someone who is locked within themselves, someone who is afraid of expressing themselves because they're afraid of what people say. And even though the name was created forever ago for gaming purposes and doing all these things, now as I look at using the name with music and obviously YouTube and stuff like that, it's the reason why oftentimes I'm not introducing myself like, hey guys, Giganot. I'm introducing as Marcus, because Giganot is the real embodiment of struggling, from wanting to be better and wanting to be something and wanting to be whole and happy, but also having these demons, these voices that are angrily going. The feeling of wanting to be a light, but also knowing that they're very dark. Giganot is relatively almost just, that different personality of someone who will wear a mask and sound weird, but wear a face mask and have a hoodie on, pants, regardless of the time of year. It could be super hot just wearing all these clothes. But, for me, that was the creation of it. Covering everything up, all the imperfections. Just wanting to hide behind that name. And even now, I hate to tell you, but my real name is not Marcus Andrew. It's part of it, but keeping yourself hidden is something I always wanted to do, and Giganot's really the way of opening it all out, opening myself up with words, weird pictures, edginess, aggression, a lot of things I never really did. And that's what Dreamer's about. Allowing myself to dream and wondering if it's worth it. Dreamer Volume 2 in the entirety of Project Dreamer is going to be more of a long-term process. This is the first of multiple volumes, but it's something that I want to do when I feel like I'm hitting a certain milestone every time. Volume 2 currently is non-existent now because I took away all the songs that were going to be on it. After this album comes out, the next step is I'm just going to continue down the road that I was doing, is working on singles and hopefully featuring in other people's songs instead of having everyone feature in mine, because it takes a lot of work on that. But it's Volume 2 will be the idea of it currently is going to be me really testing out new genres. Not gonna do polka, but yeah, it'll be when the feeling comes. I do have the idea for the song of it, but currently it's just gonna be in hiatus for a while. But Dreamer Volume 1 is something that I've worked on for months. Everything that was written for it is written out of various states of my mind, and I do extremely want to thank everyone who worked on it with me. It literally wouldn't have been done without you. So I do want to thank all of you. And there is a song on there called Thank You, and granted it's mostly for people in my life, but at this point it's really for everyone. And I hope the album is enjoyable for most people. Hopefully it makes you feel some things, and maybe it doesn't, who knows. But I've been talking forever. This is gonna be a long video. It's gonna be more of like a podcasty like video of me just talking. It's kind of like really the main idea of what I wanted to do with this channel is just talk, like a diary. I talked to my therapist, now I talk to this, so if you are sick of hearing me go I'm probably not going to edit this, besides adding in a few things here and there, but I don't see myself really editing this video, just because it's really me at like the rawest podcast form that I could be at this current point in time. So take that as what you will. If I end up being able to get like a video editor, like somebody who can edit videos and not me sitting there on my phone doing it, because none of my stuff's handling that right now. I don't have the mental capacity for it. I do edit all my videos on my phone. It probably sounds so much weirder than what most people do. Phones are pretty capable now. Better screen than what I have right here, so it's crazy. Yeah. If you hate somebody who says a lot, well, probably would have clicked off this video forever ago. I am Mark Andrew, and you probably know me better as Giganot at this point, but I want to say thank you and have a wonderful night, because it is nighttime for me. So